shocking thing about the Supreme Court's immunity ruling yesterday is the sheer number of liberals who believe that assassinations are official acts of the presidency. Welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show. If you would like to join us, you can reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. As always, the AdventNews.com talk and text line is 414-799-1130. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well. You can watch the show streaming live on X, on Facebook, or on our YouTube channel. Just search for Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. The United States Supreme Court did not do anything yesterday that allows a president to assassinate a political rival. If it did, then Barack Obama would be immune from killing Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. Oh, wait, he was. For those who don't remember this story, it caused significant controversy back when civil rights groups actually cared about civil rights. Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki was the 16-year-old son of the radical Imam Anwar al-Awlaki. In 2011, September 30th to be precise, President Obama ordered a drone strike that killed Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen. The United States was not at war with the Yemeni government, and al-Awlaki was actually an American citizen. He was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He was, however, a key organizing figure for Al-Qaeda, as determined by the United States military. He was a radical preacher who inspired, among other terrorists, Army Major Nidal Hasan, who killed multiple people at Fort Hood in 2009. He was, however, an American citizen. Was the order to giving the order to kill him via drone, therefore the extrajudicial killing of an American citizen by the United States government? Barack Obama himself gave the order. Was Barack Obama therefore liable for the murder of an American citizen? Reasonable people at the time said no. Al-Awlaki was clearly a terrorist. He was inspiring terror attacks around the world. Even though he was an American citizen, he was still an enemy combatant, and targeting him for death was a lawful act of war as per the declared war on terrorism. The United States, based on an act of Congress and based on presidential precedent, was authorized to prosecute the war on terror, as it had been for a decade prior to al-Awlaki's death. The killing of Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, however, was, well, a little bit different. There was no indication that the 16-year-old had anything to do with any terrorism whatsoever. He was simply, as the United States government actually admitted years later, in the wrong place at the wrong time. He died in an American drone strike about 2 weeks after his father's killing. And he was killed based on intelligence that he was with Ibrahim al-Bana. Al-Bana was an Egyptian believed to be a senior operative for Al-Qaeda. A senior United States administration official who spoke on condition of anonymity said Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki was simply an innocent bystander, quote, in the wrong place at the wrong time. The United States government, that official said, did not know that Mr. Awlaki's son was there before the airstrike was ordered. Robert Gibbs, who at the time was President Obama's press secretary, actually deflected blame for the killing to the late Anwar al-Awlaki, saying, quote, "I would suggest that you should have a far more responsible father if they are truly concerned about the well-being of their children. I don't think becoming an al-Qaeda jihadist terrorist is the best way to go about doing your business." Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki was a United States citizen who was not suspected of terrorism, who simply was, as the United States government admitted, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Could Barack Obama, who again ordered the airstrike that killed the 16-year-old, be tried for murder? Most people, reasonable people, would say no. Again, this is an official act of the presidency done in the prosecution of a war. Let's say Barack Obama instead launched a drone strike on Mitt Romney, and he took out Paul Ryan, too, who is just an innocent bystander. They happen to be campaigning together, and you know what? The strike was targeting that Mormon terrorist Romney. No reasonable person would consider this an official act of the presidency. Oh, but Dan, couldn't Donald Trump just declare Joe Biden to be an enemy combatant? No, actually, it doesn't work that way. And again, all reasonable people understand this, but we are not, it seems, governed by reasonable people. Taking a page from the dissent of Justice Sotomayor in the Supreme Court's immunity case, President Biden went on national television, a nationally televised address, to say that it is now open season on American citizens because of this ruling.
I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote.
End of quote. He did it again. Now, a lot of times when I'm quoting somebody, I'll say end quote or end of quote. But usually I will say at the beginning, quote, Sonia Sotomayor is an idiot, end quote. President Biden clearly again read a teleprompter instruction, and the left is, of course, trying to spin this. By the way, he mumbled throughout that entire 4.5-minute address. 4.5 minutes. They are trying to convince us that Biden is totally fit for office when he spoke for 4.5 minutes. I thought for sure they'd have him go 10, 15 minutes, maybe get into the weeds, because the reason he showed up, and did you notice they put a whole lot of bronzer on him? The man looked more like Trump than Trump. All I could think of was at the end of the Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Anakin Skywalker, after he, essentially is on the path to becoming Darth Vader, he said, "You were sent to destroy the Sith, not join them. Biden, you were sent to destroy the Orange Man, not get even oranger." President Biden obviously failed in his mission to assuage concerns that he's perfectly fine. What you saw was just a bad night, and it does seem, and we'll get into this later on in the show, that the narrative has shifted again. It was just a bad night. It was a bad night. It doesn't negate 3.5 years of a presidency that's going just fine. Thank you very much. But this idea that we're in fear for our democracy, there is also a staggering amount of a lack of self-reflection or self-awareness. Let's get this straight, okay? President Biden and his allies in the Democratic Party are worried that a president can now use governmental power to target their political enemies and destroy their lives. I want you to just stop for a second. You might be driving. You might be at work. You might be carting the kids to a dentist appointment. Just stop for a second. Fully take in. The irony of that, they're concerned about a president and a government using the power of government, using the power of law to target a political opponent. Please do not forget that a grand total of 2 weeks after Donald Trump announced in November of 2022 that he was going to again run for the presidency in 2024, President Biden appointed Jack Smith, a special counsel, to investigate Donald Trump. Never forget also that exactly 2 weeks to the day after Trump made that announcement, the third highest ranking official in Biden's own Department of Justice, Matthew Colangelo, suddenly left his cushy job to become a line prosecutor in New York City, the Manhattan DA's office, to be specific, to do what? Prosecute white-collar crimes? Come on, what's he going to go after the hot dog vendors of New York City? No, he left Biden's DOJ to lead the case that was then known in the Manhattan DA's office as the zombie case. The Stormy Daniels prosecution that Cyrus Vance and even the prosecutor who eventually took the case, Alvin Bragg, said, look, there's just no way we can prosecute this. The statute of limitations has run. There's no underlying or predicate crime that would allow us to prosecute this as a felony, much less, say, 34 different felonies. Colangelo comes in and, wouldn't you know it, the zombie case is resurrected like it's an episode of The Walking Dead. And Trump is prosecuted. What a weird coincidence. Then you have down in Georgia, a special prosecutor who is appointed by the district attorney in Fulton County, Fannie Finney Funny Fawny Willis, who just happens to meet for 24 straight hours. At least that's what he billed the good people of Fulton County for his services. There was a 24-hour meeting that Nathan Wade, the special counsel, just happened to have in late 2022, early 2023 with the White House. In fact, there were multiple meetings that just happened to occur right before the special prosecutor brought state charges against former President Donald Trump. And now the exact same people who have been spearheading this are very, very concerned that Trump might use his newfound presidential immunity to use the power of the United States Army to attack United States citizens, something that Barack Obama did 13 years ago, and the entire world, save for the American Civil Liberties Union, which was raising holy hell at the time, especially over the killing of the 16-year-old Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, had no problem with it. You see how this works. It's selective outrage. Where was the outrage? And I'll actually give the ACLU credit because I can remember reporting on this at the time. I was not a talk show host at the time, but I was a straight news reporter, and I did have a law degree. I was about 5 years out of law school, and I was thinking to myself, like, this does feel a little bit like an extrajudicial killing, but because the president does have broad war powers, he is authorized to conduct such an airstrike. Let's say, for the sake of arguments, that the president didn't have the immunity that was not created by the Supreme Court. Do you realize for 30 plus years now, the president of the United States has had broad civil immunity, something that was just always sort of assumed. We have something in this country known as sovereign immunity. Have you ever heard of the doctrine of sovereign immunity? I've talked about it before. Producer Dave says yes. It's one of those ridiculous legal terms that Dan uses just to try to sound smart. No, it actually is a very important concept. You get pissed off at the government. You can't just sue the government because everybody is pissed off at the government all the time, which is sort of what makes us Americans, and we would constantly be suing the government. So the government enjoys broad protection from lawsuits and action against the government under the doctrine of sovereign immunity. This is merely an extension of sovereign immunity. If the president didn't have absolute immunity for official acts, as he had from civil judgments and civil actions against him for 30 years, and really since the dawn of the American presidency, then we wouldn't be able to have an American presidency, because who do you think the most sued man in the world would be if you could sue the President of the United States. My goodness, I've seen Lawrence Tribe on enough cable news shows to know there are a whole lot of crackpot attorneys out there. You don't think Mark Elias, who has almost single-handedly rewritten America's voting laws to make vote fraud far easier to accomplish, you don't think he would be suing Trump every single day of the week? Of course he would. Every left-wing group would personally sue Trump. Why do you think they all knew they couldn't go after Trump when he was in office? And here's the thing that's probably the most disingenuous of all. The left has been talking about prosecuting Donald Trump almost from the moment Donald Trump took office. I will never forget this to my dying day. It was an article, I believe, in the Washington Post, but don't quote me because it might have been The Nation. It was January 20th, 2017, the day Donald Trump was inaugurated. And do you know what the headline was? Now the movement to impeach Donald Trump begins. He hadn't done anything. He didn't even have his inaugural ball. His hand was up taking the oath of office. We're going to impeach him. It was the Washington Post. Thank you very much, Dave, for that crack research. Now, let's say the left could have prosecuted Trump. Would it have? Well, we saw what happened after Trump left office. Is there any doubt that Trump would have been prosecuted if he could have been? Remember, the Stormy Daniels hush money payments, which were somehow magically criminal, the second one of Biden's top DOJ officials got to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. That case was hanging around out there since 2016, 2017, when the payments were made. 2018, I would say, is, what's the weasel lawyer's name? Michael Cohen, when he turned on Trump and started talking to anyone who would give him a book deal or a cable news appearance. If that were the case, Trump would have been prosecuted. But what was always the barrier? Think about it this way. What is the barrier now? Why do you think lefties are so freaked out that the prosecutions of Trump won't happen in Georgia, or the two federal cases won't happen before the election? Because they are concerned a sitting president cannot be prosecuted. Moreover, let's go back even further than the killing of the al-Awlaki family. Let's go back to when Barack Obama was first inaugurated. The radical left wanted George W. Bush and Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney prosecuted for what? War crimes. But they couldn't be. Barack Obama pretended to be magnanimous and said, look, this is not what we do. We don't prosecute our political opponents. That lasted all of 15 years. But he also knew that he was barred by law because there was always an implied doctrine of absolute immunity for official acts. It falls under the doctrine of sovereign immunity. If the president is not free to act in an official capacity, then he is not free to prosecute wars. He is not free to faithfully execute the laws of the United States. The left is being willfully obtuse about this, if not just outright lying. Because if you encounter somebody who says, well, the president could now just drone strike somebody, I want you to say, oh yeah, like with Abdul Rahman and Anwar al-Awlaki? Those two names single-handedly defeat every bit of left-wing histrionics that you heard yesterday. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show. It is classical conservatism and contemporary style.
And that's the best thing about Capital's AC Beyondification.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Hey, Merle, what you got? What's this? A screenplay?
Let me see this. Captain Capital, Heat and Air Hero.
That's so awesome, Merle.
Hang on. I've been writing a screenplay like this.
For years.
It's an epic, and it's Capital Man, not Captain Capital. Yes, of course he restores your air conditioner to like new condition.
Says here, Captain Capital has a deep clean device.
Aha! Capital Man deep cleans your system with his laser beam hands.
What?
I'm developing a sidekick. He always does the comprehensive safety checks. You wrote yourself in as the sidekick?
As long as it gets across how Capitol's AC beyondification saves the day,
And how you want to do it before summer hits.
well, that's the whole point.
That's what I'm saying.
Then it's great.
Laura, Seth, I need a moment with Merle, please.
Schedule your AC Beyondification today online at callcapitalcares.com.
In this week's Marketers Report, Dana Nussbaum, Executive Vice President, Worldwide Marketing at Warner Brothers Discovery, weighs in on regional audio marketing.
Although we're marketing at a very broad scale, it does include specific local markets, and that's the beauty of iHeart's network.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, influencers, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
For years now, people have been switching their wireless service to Pure Talk to save money. Just $20 a month, you get unlimited talk and text and tons of data. But more people are switching to Pure Talk, a veteran-owned company, to support America's Warrior Partnership and their mission to help prevent veteran suicide. To make the switch, dial pound 250, say the keyword SAVE NOW, and you'll be connected to Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team. Make the switch, same service, save money, help vets, pound 250, keyword SAVE NOW.
Have you heard that real estate commissions are coming down? Ask your 6% broker if they're still charging 6%. Spoiler alert, they are. Before you overpay to sell your home, Google Redefined Realty. We have 15 to 20 agents, 3 local offices, West Bend, Waukesha, and Pewaukee, and over 500 5-star Google reviews. At just 3.99%, you can sell your home for a fair price and get the professional full-service MLS representation that you deserve. Don't pay 6% in such a hot housing market. It's just 3.99% at Redefined Realty for the same thing.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-887-1010. 800-887-1010.
There's only one store that gives you every possible choice in diamonds.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Love to see the left finally conceding that using the power of government against your political rivals is a bad thing. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. President Biden very outraged and very orange last night in his address to the nation.
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years. But any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law.
Really? Trump would feel free to ignore the law. He could just do what he pleases, despite the clear letter of law and even a Supreme Court decision affirming that the law says that Trump can't act. Like, would, say, President Trump brag about ignoring the Supreme Court to deliver student loan debt relief?
The Supreme Court blocked me from relieving student debt, but they didn't stop me. So far, I've relieved student debt for nearly 5 million Americans. A significant number are black borrowers. So you can chase your dreams, start a family, buy your first home, start a business, and so much more.
Yeah, it's a good thing, you see, when the president ignores the law. How about the eviction moratorium? Remember that one in 2021? President Biden was very clear. Look, the law says I can't do this. The Supreme Court has ruled I can't do this. He did it anyway after Cori Bush protested in his office. By the way, I am counting down until that Democratic primary because Cori Bush, like Jamal Bowman before her, is about to get thumped by a at least halfway sane Democrat. President Biden has repeatedly, or rather, as was laid bare on Thursday, since President Biden isn't actually running anything at all, and I dare say that he hasn't been, Carl Bernstein, as we'll see next hour, reported last night that, hey, privately, presidential aides have been telling him that for the past 15 months, Biden has appeared increasingly senile. Now, as any good reporter, especially, Carl Bernstein would do. Bernstein kept it quiet until it was politically expedient to reveal the information. I'm telling you, the most stunning thing to any liberal from like 1972 to 1974 would be that the media, the Woodwards and Bernsteins, are now working for Richard Nixon, not to cover up Watergate, but to cover up presidential senility. The hysterics over this Supreme Court immunity case are staggering. Nicole Wallace, MSNBC last night.
We should pull the curtain back on what's actually happening, shouldn't we? People are exploring options to live in other countries if they think they could be targeted for prosecution by Donald Trump, because targeting you or targeting me or targeting Andrew would be an official act based on today's decision.
Really? So a president shouldn't be allowed to just target people he doesn't like for prosecution? Well, I'm glad we now all agree on that, Nicole. Dan O'Donnell Show, conservative thought, not just talk.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. I frequently speak with people who are unhappy with their landscaping and they're unsure how to turn things around. Well, here are 4 tasks that will make a remarkable improvement to dull landscaping. Number 1, thick, lush green grass. We need food and water to be healthy. Our lawn care programs and irrigation systems provide your grass with everything it needs to thrive. Number 2, pruning. Regular, technically correct pruning keeps plants strong and vibrant. Number 3, plant bed edging and a fresh layer of bark mulch. There's nothing better than the look of crisp bed edges and fresh mulch. Number 4, landscape lighting. You finally have your landscaping looking its best. A landscape lighting system lets your landscaping come alive after dark. So there you are, 4 landscaping tips that amplify the beauty of your home. Please call Seasonal Services at 262-392-3444 or look for us online at seasonalservices.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. Over the last 75 years, the Lynch family has understood the value of a relationship with their own customers, their employees, and also their community. That's just one of the reasons they've been awarded a top workplace award for the 5th consecutive year. Happy employees provide top-level service, and if you're tired of the same old car buying experience and want to be treated like family, let them show you the Lynch difference. With Lynch certified, every qualified vehicle comes with peace of mind in the form of a 3-month, 3,000-mile certified warranty. Lynch Protected covers your windshield, road hazards, and paint for 1 year. With locations in Burlington, Kenosha, West Bend, and 3 stores in the McWanago community, Lynch is easy and convenient to find. Come and get treated like family and experience the Lynch difference, or find them online at shoplynch.com.
Dan Small here. Join me for the latest info on your favorite outdoor activities. Saturday morning at 6 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Brought to you by Remy Battery, serving Milwaukee since 1931. RemyBattery.com.
With nearly 50 years of experience, my dad, Jim Mullally, has taught my cousin Mark everything he knows. In fact, he bestowed so much expertise onto Mark that Mark went to New York to compete against the top furniture finishers in the country. And you know what? He won. So if you're looking for the finest of furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. The bulk of our business is in wood furniture restoration. We found that there are a lot of folks out there with antique furniture and heirloom pieces that are in good shape, but just need to be brought back to life again. Well, that's our specialty. And right here in Mequon, you'll find one of the country's top furniture finishers. So if you want only the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
It's all valuable to you, and that's why you want to be sure your move doesn't turn into a nightmare. Every moving company claims how much they care, but the real proof is in the pudding. And with us, it starts with our trucks. They aren't merely spring ride freight trucks. They're custom-built air ride moving trucks. And let me tell you, there's a big difference. This is Rick Vanderboom with Blue Mountain Express Moving and Storage, and we'll improve your move.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide.
Blue Mountain Express.
When you have to move, do you want your belongings bouncing all over Wisconsin roads in a spring ride freight truck? Or would you rather have them safe and secure as if they were floating on a pillow in a custom-built air ride moving truck? I already know your answer, and that's why our fleet of trucks are fully equipped with the finest moving equipment available. When you want the best, call Blue Mountain Express, because we'll improve your move.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide.
When you're due for tire service, visit richlands.com for the location nearest you.
We'll give you free flat tire repair on every tire we install. No questions asked. I'm Brett Matchke with Richlands. You're due for service.
Richlands.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Do you have a rotted wood window, foggy or broken glass, having a hard time opening your sliding door? Argo Glass and Windows can fix it all, saving the original look and your budget. Call us today and get a free estimate from Argo, where we repair first, replace at worst. Your one-stop window and door problem solver. Call us at 262-372-7110. That's 262-372-7110. Argo Glass and Windows, 262-372-7110.
Zero Foxtrot isn't just a brand, it's a way of life. Founded and operated by veterans, Zero Foxtrot's unique apparel and gear echoes the grit of the warrior culture. Zero Foxtrot dedicates itself to producing content, honoring the sacrifices of forgotten heroes of the past, and connecting history to the present. Embark on a journey with Zero Foxtrot today at zerofoxtrot.com. It's not merely our products, it's about the ethos that we embody. Rugged, resilient, and timeless.
Classical conservatism. Contemporary style. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.
You know, I don't want to step on my own unhinged liberal of the day here, because I really did want to make it Sonia Sotomayor. There's a reason in 2009, remember I said the name Lawrence Tribe, Larry Tribe. He's a very esteemed Harvard law professor. He is also freaking crazy. He wasn't always like that, though. He was at one point, Donald Trump just broke this man's brain. But he was once considered the premier legal scholar of the left. In 2009, he actually wrote a letter to then new President Barack Obama, urging him not to appoint Sonia Sotomayor. If you were to appoint someone like Sonia Sotomayor, whose personal history and demographic appeal you don't need for me to underscore, I am concerned that the impact within the court would be negative in these respects. Bluntly put, she's not nearly as smart as she seems to think she is, and her reputation for being something of a bully could well make her liberal impulses backfire and simply add to the firepower of the Roberts, Alito, Scalia, Thomas wing of the court on issues like those involved in the voting rights cases argued last week and the Title VII case of the New Haven firefighters argued earlier. What Tribe was saying is Sotomayor isn't very bright, and her dissent in the immunity case, Trump v. United States, I think underscores this. The court effectively creates a law-free zone around the president, upsetting the status quo that has existed since the founding. This new official act's immunity now lies about like a loaded weapon for any president that wishes to place his own interest, his own political survival, or his own financial gain above the interests of the nation. Do you know what case she cites in that sentence? Korematsu v. United States. You have no idea what case that is, do you? 1944. It's the case that allowed President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a Democrat, to inter Japanese Americans till the end of World War II, essentially saying that they were suspicious just because of their national origin, so we could round them up and put them in internment camps. It's considered one of the worst Supreme Court decisions in United States history. She essentially got it totally wrong. President FDR had absolute immunity from that. Was there any Japanese man who was allowed to sue? No. Korematsu said, this is an act of war. The president is authorized to do this. But where she follows up is where things devolve into just absolute hysterics. And she sounds like a liberal wine mom from the state of Maine. The President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way, under the majority's reasoning, he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune, 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 immune. Is taking a bribe ever an official act of the presidency? No. Is staging a military coup an official act of the presidency? No. Is assassinating a political rival using SEAL Team 6 an official act? No. All of these are crimes. All of these very clearly fall outside of the scope of what would be considered an official act. The president doesn't just get to wave his hand and say, hey, guess what, guys? Killing people is now an official act of the presidency. The president is bound by the Constitution and bound by law. This isn't just nonsensical. This borders on insane. The fact that this is coming from a justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is frankly terrifying. The fact that it's coming from the wise Latina is not especially surprising given Lawrence Tribe's warning all those years ago about putting this crazy person on the court. Sotomayor goes on. Let the president violate the law. Let him exploit the trappings of his office for personal gain. Let him use his official power for evil ends. Because if he knew that he may one day face liability for breaking the law, he might not be as bold and fearless as we would like him to be. That is the majority's message today. Even if these nightmare scenarios never play out, and I pray they never do, the damage has been done. The relationship between the president and the people he serves has shifted irrevocably. In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. Is every act an official act of the presidency? That's actually where I was just going, Producer Dave. Producer Dave says, when the president takes a whiz, is that an official act? That's literally what I was about to say. When he has dinner, is this an official act of the president? When Joe Biden goes out for ice cream, okay? He loves his ice cream. I'm convinced Jill gives him ice cream as a reward like you do with a 4-year-old when he behaves well. Like after the debate, Joe, you answered all the questions. Great job. If Biden goes in and, okay, here's the president actually, I'm almost certain the president almost never carries money. He's not allowed to carry a cell phone unless it is like totally secure because of obvious reason. You can't have China hacking the president's cell phone. I'm almost certain the president never carries a wallet or never carries money because of the possibility that he could, lose his wallet or something like that. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong about that, because I very much could be. Well, when they do the photo ops, they actually give him money to pay for it. Okay? I know, it's so weird. It is just that if you've ever seen a president up close or seen how the Secret Service is, it is very, very odd and off-putting, but it's necessary because obviously the level of security around the most powerful man in the world is extreme. Let's say President Biden goes in and he pays for some ice cream and he never pays for it. The shopkeeper is miffed because he really needs that $3.50. Also, thank you, Joe Biden, for ice cream now costing $3.50 instead of 99 cents. But he's miffed. Could that shopkeeper call the police and have the president arrested for theft? He could. An official act is not going out for ice cream. An official act is, as we used in the very real example of the killing of Anwar and Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki at the beginning of this hour, those are official acts. Those are in furtherance of prosecuting a war against America's stated enemies. Dining and dashing at an ice cream parlor is clearly not an official act. Could the president say, well, it is an official act of my presidency that I stole that ice cream? No. There is still a balancing test, and the Supreme Court was not particularly clear on what actually constitutes an official act. But one thing we know is that the president can't act. And what's also amazing is that this decision comes on the heels of the Supreme Court overturning what has been known as Chevron deference, which meant that the executive branch, the president's branch of government, could simply set its own rules for regulation. It didn't have to rely on specific acts of Congress, but it could become its own regulatory state. The Supreme Court last week, Friday, came out with a decision saying, no, we are dramatically curtailing the power of the executive branch. And yet now the left is saying, well, the Supreme Court is just taking the presidency to new, previously unheard of imperial levels. No, the Supreme Court actually gutted the powers of the president and returned a significant amount of authority to where it should have been all along, the Congress. These hysterical scenarios about SEAL Team 6 and all of this, I can see coming from Keith Olbermann. Coming from a justice of the United States, coming from people who clearly should know better, is frankly terrifying. Not to mention, Democrats seem altogether too comfortable with the idea of political assassinations for my liking. We will name the unhinged liberal of the day coming up next here on The Dan O'Donnell Show. Dan O'Donnell here for the incredible team at Mander Collision and Glass, now with 6 locations to serve you. And you hear me talk about my great experiences with Mander all the time. Here's David. I had a chip in my windshield of my 2009 Chevy Malibu repaired today. Scheduling was a breeze. Staff was great. I was in and out in under half an hour. That's the Mander difference for you. Quick, professional work with customer service that's second to none. They treat you as a valued member of the family and not just a number like some of the big national chains. It's service that you can only get with a third-generation family business, and that's why I've been using Mander Collision and Glass for so many years, and so many listeners are now discovering and have discovered the Mander difference too. You can check them out at any one of their great locations, Cedarburg, Brookfield, Heartland, Milwaukee, Muskego, or Waukesha, and start your repair today at mandercollision.com.
I was talking to a nice fellow the other day that told me he was considering a high-end asphalt roof over a permanent metal roof. I could hardly contain myself. Just exactly what the heck is a high-end asphalt roof? Hi, this is Jack again from Metal Roofing Systems. High-end asphalt shingles is like saying you can have better athlete's foot. Folks, you can put lipstick on a pig, but you still have well, you get my drift. Your home is likely your most valuable asset. Why protect it with a temporary fix that looks faded, old, and tired after 8 to 10 years when you can have an absolutely gorgeous metal roof that saves energy and will be beautiful for decades? Our designer roof can look like split cedar shakes or slate, is available in many colors, and will save you a small fortune over time. For a free, no-obligation estimate, go to beautifulroofs.com or call Dana toll-free at 855-678-ROOF. Remember, beautifulroofs.com. Thank you.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellen Becker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Your clear choice for more. Lisbon Storm Screen and Door. Here for you all year round. Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Hi, this is David Wilhelm, and here I go again talking about Marvin Windows and Doors. It's our lead brand, so of course I'm going to tout Marvin Windows and Doors attributes. But when you take a look at the quality of the products that Marvin puts out, can you blame me? When it comes to exceptional efficiency and personalization, Marvin Windows are at the top of the list. Whether it's casement or awning style, single or double hung windows, advanced engineering and the highest quality construction make Marvin Windows incredibly durable, versatile, and easy to use. You can be assured Marvin Windows and Doors are built around you. And Lisbon Storm Screen and Door is one of Wisconsin's largest Marvin window and door dealers. For your best selection, choose your clear choice for more. Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more. Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Find out more at lisbonstorm.com.
Hey, Sean Hannity here, talking with the only real estate agent in your market I recommend, Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. What programs or options do you have to help home sellers get what they want in today's market?
Sean, we've literally designed our entire business model around what sellers want. It starts with our guaranteed sale. We agree with a price, we agree on a deadline, and if we don't have it sold for the money the seller wants at the time frame they need, we step in and buy it for cash. We also offer instant offer. We come in, eliminate the marketing time, buy the property as is for cash, and close at whatever deadline or time frame the seller wants. We couple those two programs with our famous cancelable contract, whereas if you are not happy with what we're doing on the sale side of your property, you can fire us at any time and pay nothing.
Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews.
Zero Foxtrot isn't just a brand, it's a way of life. Founded and operated by veterans, Zero Foxtrot's unique apparel and gear echoes the grit of the warrior culture. Zero Foxtrot dedicates itself to producing content, honoring the sacrifices of forgotten heroes of the past, and connecting history to the present. Embark on a journey with Zero Foxtrot today at zerofoxtrot.com. It's not merely our products, it's about the ethos that we embody. Rugged, resilient, and timeless.
Life's a journey, and Russ Darrow is revving up for the ride. Russ Darrow and the places you'll go. Head to russdarrow.com to explore how they can help you get to your next adventure.
Frankly, folks, you know, I've been very open about the fact that I use X, formerly known as Twitter, for a lot of my show prep. I essentially use it as the old AP News ticker. Stuff comes in sort of in real time. You can sort of see news narratives develop. As I tell pretty much everybody, it's an invaluable tool for news gathering, for political commentary. It's just spectacular. Some days I find myself glued to Twitter because the left is just beyond delusional. Yesterday might have been one of the greatest days in the history of liberal Twitter.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
Does that make me crazy?
All white people are racist.
Does that make me crazy?
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
Possibly.
America is over.
Now, there are about 5,000 liberals who would qualify for the unhinged liberal of the day, all essentially saying the same thing. The Supreme Court is now allowing Trump to assassinate his political opponents, but only one liberal had a timeline filled with such insane delusions that he could possibly qualify. He is an attorney by the name of Bradley P. Moss, and he's just one of these guys who has gained notoriety on X, and he just tweets all the time. He's a big left-wing Twitter account, and, well, I think his brain has finally been broken. According to the Supreme Court, he tweeted, President Biden can have the military execute Steve Bannon in the prison showers tonight and be immune from prosecution. Aha. He quote tweets Tommy Tuberville, the senator from Alabama. According to the Supreme Court, President Biden can deploy the military against Senator Tuberville and can never be prosecuted for it. He goes on in about, I would say, 14, 15 tweets along those same lines, but this one has got to take the cake. A president can choose to nuke American cities filled with his political opponents and retain immunity from prosecution. The Supreme Court ruled that a president can have the military execute them, and the president is immune from prosecution for it. Yes, the Supreme Court just said that a president can nuke American cities. Bradley P. Moss, your unhinged liberal of the day. Now, producer Dave asked a very interesting question before the show started. Are these people being intentionally disingenuous, or do they really not know what the Supreme Court actually ruled? Little of both. Bradley P. Moss, I'm going to very charitably give the benefit of the doubt, since he is a practicing attorney, that he understands qualified immunity, he understands total immunity, he understands the concept of sovereign immunity generally. And he understands that there has always been implied absolute immunity. And for the past 30 years, the president has actually enjoyed immunity from civil actions for official acts. He also, I'm going to charitably assume, knows that there's a difference between official and unofficial acts. Now, it is up for a court to decide what is an official and what is an unofficial act. And I think eventually, because as soon as Trump gets back into office, if he wins this election in November, the left is going to be loaded for bear. There are going to be nonstop lawsuits. There's going to be an even more unhinged attempt to destroy his presidency than the first time around. And I do hope that he and his team are ready for this. But the point is that the people who understand the law understand it. I believe they're lying. I believe the people like Olbermann, who are just loudmouth dunces, don't. I truly believe they never took the time to read. And I'll be honest, folks, I've been busy with a move. We're finally into the place we're staying temporarily. So I didn't read the entire decision. I read a whole lot of it. I feel like I lost a lot of brain cells reading Sonia Sotomayor's dissent. But a lot of these people never take the time to actually read these rulings, and they'll instead scroll Twitter and just adopt the copy points, the talking points from other liberals. All right, we will get to President Biden and the state of the presidential race coming up next.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning, I'm Ted Allen. Milwaukee Public Schools are expecting to lose $43 million because of their late and still incomplete financial reports. The state's Department of Public Instruction released the first estimate for general state aid to schools yesterday. DPI says MPS will lose the millions next year because the city's school district was overpaid in the past. MPS school board members aren't yet saying how they intend to make up for the shortfall, though raising property taxes is one of the options. Attorneys for Donald Trump have indicated in a letter to the judge in the former president's hush money case that they want him to postpone sentencing and set aside the trial verdict following the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling yesterday. Lawyers said the decision confirmed that the Manhattan District Attorney shouldn't have been able to offer evidence at trial concerning Trump's official acts as president. Trump pleaded not guilty to the charges, which stem from a payment his former attorney Michael Cohen made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the final weeks of the 2016 presidential campaign. It looks like southeast Wisconsin's getting its rainy weather out of the way before the 4th of July. Forecasters say there will be rain and storms today, but none of the storms are expected to be severe. Some in the region could see as much as an inch of rain. That rain will bring in warmer temperatures and more humidity. The forecast for the 4th looks to be warm and a bit sticky with a chance for rain later at night. Checking the WISN Sports Scoreboard, after falling in extra innings to Colorado last night, the Brewers take on the Rockies again tonight in Denver. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Allen on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Whether it was from a burn, heat, water, or a candle wax spill, if you have a great piece of wood furniture that has a damaged top, don't worry, because if we have to, we can refinish tops only. Other places may say you need to refinish the whole piece, but we can do better than that. So don't let your great piece go to waste. If it's just the top you need refinished, or for jobs of any size, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. He was told it would cost him $1,000 to refinish his chair. But when it was done, he'd be able to sell it for at least twice that. Only to find out that he paid more to refinish the chair than it was actually worth. You gotta watch out for dishonest people out there. But not over here. With over 50 years of experience, we'll give you a good idea of the value of your piece and whether it's worth refinishing. So for honest answers, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Rain and a chance for thunderstorms this morning. Better chance of thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening. High today near 74. Southeast wind 10 to 20 miles per hour. Overnight tonight, more rain and thunderstorms. Should see a low near 68. Drying up tomorrow. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell.
This report is sponsored by Polaris.
Wisconsin, we know you've got a long list of to-dos. With a Polaris Ranger XP 1000, you can tackle it like never before, thanks to the upgraded Gen 2 transmission, stronger front bumper, LED headlights, and a pre-installed winch. Polaris, a proud partner of your Green Bay Packers.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, host of the Designer Yard Show and owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. Do you love your landscaping? Do you appreciate the perfect blend of plants, stone, and wood that embraces your home? Do you delight in sitting on your patio with a cool drink, taking in the beauty of your backyard? If you answer yes, then we have a lot in common. Now, one more question. Does all of this beauty disappear when the sun goes down? Since 1994, the experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services have been creating beautiful landscaping that can and should be enjoyed even after dark. If the beauty and pleasure of your landscaping disappears when the sun goes down, you should consider a fully automatic landscape lighting system. The experts at Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services are gifted at creating deliciously soft, subtle nighttime scenes. To schedule a meeting with one of our lighting designers, please call 262-392-3444 or look for us online at seasonalservices.com.
Let Tri-County Contracting take care of the outside of your home so you don't have to. Worry-free roofing, siding, and windows from Tri-County Contracting. Call us at 262-679-6100 or visit us online at tricountycontractingwi.com.
Dan Small here. Join me for the latest info on your favorite outdoor activities. Saturday morning at 6 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Brought to you by Remy Battery, serving Milwaukee since 1931. RemyBattery.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships. Over the last 75 years, the Lynch family has understood the value of a relationship with their own customers, their employees, and also their community. That's just one of the reasons they've been awarded a Top Workplace Award for the 5th consecutive year. Happy employees employees provide top-level service. And if you're tired of the same old car buying experience and want to be treated like family, let them show you the Lynch difference. With Lynch Certified, every qualified vehicle comes with peace of mind in the form of a 3-month, 3,000-mile certified warranty. Lynch Protected covers your windshield, road hazards, and paint for 1 year. With locations in Burlington, Kenosha, West Bend, and 3 stores in the McWanago community, Lynch is easy and convenient to find. Come and get treated like family and experience the Lynch difference, or find them online at shoplynch.com.
Zero Foxtrot isn't just a brand, it's a way of life. Founded and operated by veterans, Zero Foxtrot's unique apparel and gear echoes the grit of the warrior culture. Zero Foxtrot dedicates itself to producing content, honoring the sacrifices of forgotten heroes of the past, and connecting history to the present. Embark on a journey with Zero Foxtrot today at zerofoxtrot.com. It's not merely our products, it's about the ethos that we embody. Rugged, resilient, and timeless.
Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Be sure to listen to the Annex Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Annex provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference.
Cheer on the USA and listen to iHeartRadio, the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics.
So, was it a bad night compared with 3.5 years of a great presidency? Was it a cold? Was it the effects of cold medicine? Should Biden drop out altogether? All of these narratives have been floated and dropped like lead trial balloons over the past 5 days as the Democratic Party tries desperately to recover from easily the most disastrous debate, I think, in modern presidential history. Biden, simply put, just blew Nixon out of the water in 1960. Richard Nixon looked like death warmed over. Frankly, I don't know how people watched TV. I didn't think he looked that bad. Years ago, I ended up watching the entire thing because, nerd. But the consensus was that Nixon, this is a very famous anecdote, that people who listened to the debate on the radio, in the 1960 presidential debate was really the first one where television was ubiquitous, where it was widespread, and so many people watched the presidential debate. So what I consider the modern history of debates really started with Nixon-Kennedy in 1960. Nixon, the vice president, looked bad. He was in a suit that didn't really fit him well. He was, he refused to put on makeup. Now, Kennedy had just spent about a week in California prepping, so he was tanned, he's young, he's a good-looking guy, and people who listened on the radio thought on substance, Richard Nixon, had a much better debate, but people who watched on television all thought that Kennedy won in a landslide because Nixon looked so bad. Biden both looked and sounded terrible. And remember, Biden essentially had one job in that debate. Biden's team was the one that proposed this debate. It was something of a Hail Mary, I think, because they knew that they needed to change the trajectory of this race, that so many people thought Biden was infirm. They were desperately clinging to the narrative that the videos of Biden wandering off and needing to be led around by the hand by President Obama at that fundraiser a couple of weeks ago were cheap fakes video. You weren't really seeing what you rather obviously were seeing. That was the strategy that they were going with. So the debate was designed to reassure the American people that Biden was up to the task, that Trump wasn't going to win. Biden was the steady, experienced hand, and his brain had not turned into cottage cheese. The American people saw a brain that clearly had turned to cottage cheese. When Biden was not speaking, he had a 1,000-yard stare, and his mouth was agape, and he looked like his brain was not going. It looked like the hamster in the little wheel inside his head was taking a nap. Trump, meanwhile, was sharp, he was focused, and of course the media's narrative, well, he lied. He just flooded the zone with so many lies that Biden couldn't handle them all. Biden couldn't handle a talking point about Medicare. We defeated Medicare. We finally beat Medicare was an actual line. He said that women were going to become pregnant after they were raped by their sisters. That's not something that more debate prep or better debate prep or even a debate that happened during one of the 6 hours that Biden is apparently with it, according to his aides in reporting on Axios.com over the weekend. 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's what you got with Biden. They literally are admitting now that he's sundowning, that after 4 p.m. things start to get bad. But now they're going with the narrative because they realize, and I think, folks, over the weekend, every single game plan, every single scenario was laid out. What's really amazing, now we've got reporting that Kamala Harris is furious because nobody thinks that she could take over as president. Nobody wants her to run. Yeah, Kamala, did you forget about the 2020 primary, or for you, the 2019 primary, where you were forced to drop out because nobody, and I mean nobody, wanted you to be president? The more they got to know Kamala Harris, the more Democrat voters really, really, really disliked her. If Kamala Harris was even a quarter competent and likable, I'm telling you, folks, Biden would have announced that he's not running. Now, here's the problem. The Biden team and the Kamala team hate each other, specifically First Lady Macbeth, First Lady Jill Biden, who desperately wants to hold on to power. And we pointed this out yesterday, just the incredible timing of the Vogue magazine title piece, the cover article. Vogue magazine put Jill Biden on the cover for the third time in 4 years. Do you realize she's got as many Vogue covers in 4 years as Michelle Obama had in 8, and the press went gaga over Michelle Obama. I don't think I need to tell you how many covers of Vogue Melania Trump, an actual former fashion model, got. But nonetheless, Dr. Jill Biden is on the cover of Vogue on the same day that questions are raised about whether she is a cruel, awful person for keeping an obviously enfeebled Joe Biden in the race just because she enjoys the trappings of power. And the entire article is about how she loves the trappings of power and doesn't want to give them up. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The timing is absolutely fantastic. But First Lady Macbeth and Kamala Harris despise each other. Apparently, First Lady Macbeth has not yet forgiven Kamala for calling Joe a racist in the first debate back in the spring or early summer of 2019. Remember, I was that little girl on the bus. Apparently, First Lady Macbeth absolutely hates Kamala. Unfortunately, Joe and his team painted themselves into a corner by saying, I'm going to pick a black female to be my running mate. Well, it was either Kamala or Stacey Abrams, and Kamala emerged as the only credible alternative. Who is she gonna pick? Honestly, Cori Bush? Like, he was stuck. They always kept each other at arm's length. And in fact, it's widely believed that Biden sent Kamala out. One of the very first things she did in the Biden-Harris administration, remember they kept calling it in the early days the Biden-Harris administration, they sent her to deal with the border issue. You know why? To deflect blame away from Biden. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were flooding the country with illegal immigrants, putting them on a pathway to voting, a pathway to citizenship. But they knew the American people were really, really, really ticked off about it. So guess what? Kamala, you go out there, you be the public face of the Biden-Harris administration's border work. It worked. Very quickly, people so despised Kamala because, well, she's Kamala, and even though she can see what might be, unburdened by what has been, her favorite canned line, people got a glimpse of her and said, we really don't like this person. You notice the Biden-Harris administration stopped using the phrase the Biden-Harris administration because they didn't want to admit that Harris was in any way connected to Joe, especially not as the election got closer and closer. So Harris is ticked off because nobody is talking about replacing her. Democrats, however, as I said yesterday, are essentially playing fantasy football by thinking they can just plunk in anybody off the street. Gretchen Whitmer, apparently the governor of Michigan, is very aggressively behind the scenes positioning herself as an alternative. Look, I'm a popular swing state governor. Gretchen Whitmer would get absolutely destroyed. And I don't think Democrats, the ones who are still playing fantasy football, have fully come to grips with how devastating it would be to admit to the American people, look, yeah, we were running somebody who's too senile to be president, but this one's better. Trust me, this person is way better. The reality of it is that politics isn't fantasy football. In fantasy football, you can just cut Patrick Mahomes if you really want. You can trade him for a backup kicker if you want. Real football doesn't work like that. In fantasy politics, you can just drop Gavin Newsom into a campaign and pretend that he's got the infrastructure. Do you know how many campaign offices Biden has in Wisconsin? I believe the number is something like 11. It's some insane number of campaign offices that they have here. Guess how many would be allowed to stay open and stay funded by just Gavin Newsom taking over Biden's massive war chest. They're out there, by the way, and it's not a coincidence. They're out there, the Biden team, saying we took in just think about this for a second. They took in $250 million in the second quarter of 2024. Do you know why they're touting that news, why this is all over? Because they're telling people who think that Biden can just be replaced, you aren't going to get this money. The only person who could realistically inherit that campaign war chest is Kamala Harris. Nobody wants Kamala Harris. The infrastructure is already there. Sure, some of the people who were hired by Biden, and pretty much everybody who's doing work on behalf of these third-party 501c3 organizations where the Democratic Party's electoral power really lies, these get-out-the-vote organizations that really do nothing but what I call the Ernie von Schledorn method of voting, push, pull, or drag the voters into the polling place, or just fill out their absentee ballot for them. Oh, yes, you want to vote for Biden, don't you? I can help you do that. You don't even need to fill in the little bubble. I can do that for you, too. They would obviously stay, but running for president is unlike anything else in the United States. Even running in the biggest state we have in terms of population, California, would not prepare Gavin Newsom to take that jump. Sure, he would do the puff piece interviews and he'd say all the right things and the press would dutifully fawn over him, but he wouldn't have the campaign infrastructure anywhere but California. And California, for the purposes of the election, is largely irrelevant. How would Gavin Newsom, in 125 days or so, and it wouldn't be 100, you would need to staff up in 50 states. How would he get a campaign infrastructure in Michigan within 15 days, 20 days? It would be chaos, and they all know it. This is why the narrative has suddenly shifted. Have you noticed the calls for Biden to drop out have sort of dissipated? The New York Times editorial board wrote on Friday, for the good of the nation, Biden needs to drop out. Has anybody been following up on that? MSNBC was in full meltdown mode on Thursday night. This continued into Friday morning. Morning Joe said Joe needs to do the right thing to save democracy from Trump and drop out. Are they saying that still? It's only been a couple of days. the narrative has shifted because the game plan scenarios all come to the same conclusion. It would be practically impossible to replace Biden with anybody but Harris. Now, it is entirely possible, and I think likely, that the game planning continues. It is now the 4th of July week. Tomorrow is the last day most people are working. I apologize if you've got to work on July 5th. We do not. It is not going to be a regular broadcast day. We are going to have specialty programming, including, for some reason known only to God and WISN management. They let the producers have a show where they're just going to do nothing but talk smack about Belling, Jay Weber, Vicky, and I. Airing dirty laundry is the hashtag that they're using. You better believe I'm going to be listening to this with, you guys could say pretty much anything that you would say behind the scenes is something that I've already said on the air. Like, I haven't had a computer that's worked in about 2 months. That oftentimes you see me wearing a nice shirt if you're watching the show streaming live on the DanoCam. I'm usually wearing athletic shorts because, frankly, it's a lot more comfortable, and oftentimes I go work out right after the show is done. Nonetheless, the game planning will probably continue, and if there is a change made, it's got to be done as soon as humanly possible. It's got to be done probably next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next week is probably the date that you would need to make a change. But here's the ultimate question. How can you force someone to drop out of a race? This is a serious question. Joe doesn't want to drop out of the race, and really, Lady Macbeth does not want to drop out of the race. Hunter doesn't want the old man to drop out of the race, because then who's paying $50,000 for one of Hunter Biden's paintings if Daddy's not the president? Lady Macbeth apparently cannot be convinced to exit the race. That was made abundantly clear on Sunday. They have so far resisted every call to drop out because they know that it would be about as humiliating as possible, because they would have to admit, and this is the other thing, the Democrat Party would have to admit that a guy who is too senile to run for president but is still going to serve as president, because remember, if he resigns the presidency, immediately Kamala is sworn in. She becomes president. She then runs as the incumbent. But if they say, okay, Biden is going to serve out his term, but he's too enfeebled to run for the president, that has to be an admission that he's too enfeebled to serve as president. How do you get over that? How do you overcome that in the minds of the American people? We've got some audio sound bites. The polling is out, and it is about as bad as you would expect for Joe Biden. That coming up next.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Coming back to Las Vegas, September 20th and 21st. Streaming live only on Hulu.
A weekend full of superstar performances.
Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com.
Hey, pool season fanatics, your summer persona is calling. It's time for sun-soaked party scenes at MGM Grand, new luxury cabanas at Bellagio, and sandy beach living at Mandalay Bay. Show off your poolside only with MGM Rewards. Visit MGMRewards.com for details.
When I think of the word precision, I think of Tadpole and Craig. Oh, you don't know Tadpole and Craig? Well, you should. They're like world-class musicians, except instead of a tuba, they use a tape measure. In lieu of a lute, they labor in lumber. And the only band they know is a bandsaw. Yes, Tadpole and Craig are prodigies of precision when building log cabins and barns. But when it comes to the quartet of plumbing, electric, heating, and air, old Tadpole and Craig can't hold a candelabra to the masterful maestros at Mr. Holland's Home Services. If your drains are clogged, if your air ducts are dirty, if your water heater is nothing more than a water holder, and if your AC stops singing its summer song, call Mr. Holland's Home Services. We provide the perfect harmony of service and installation to keep your house humming. Call 866-992-1717 or visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com. If your home is out of tune, we can help.
Patriotic spirit is here to stay. Celebrate the summer with big savings at Menards. Pick up an Olympus 3x5-foot American flag today. It's made in the USA out of durable, tear-resistant material that will keep your flag flying. Show your patriotism and save big. It's on sale now through July 7th at Menards. Ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction among home improvement retailers according to J.D. Power. For more information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Save big money at Menards.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text SECURE to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Now, back to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
The House Judiciary Committee has now sued the Justice Department and Merrick Garland in his official capacity to obtain the audio recording that Special Counsel Robert Hur did of his interview with President Joe Biden. Garland, because of rather obvious reasons, even though the transcript was out there. The transcript is out and completely unredacted, folks. There were no state secrets that were spilled. But because the audio rather obviously makes Biden sound so bad and so confused that the Justice Department classified it, gave it actually the highest level of classification so that nobody could access it and nobody could hear with their own ears how enfeebled Biden sounded. So enfeebled, by the way, that Hur said a jury would never convict Biden because they would see him as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. In other words, Biden's immune from prosecution, not because of the United States Supreme Court, but because he's so senile. Harry Enton of CNN, who I find to be the best polling analysis in broadcast media, he, is sounding the alarm about the post-debate polls.
If you look at the polling now, compare it to what was pre-debate, and compare it to what was 4 years ago, it's just not even on the same planet, Anderson. If you ask voters now, does Biden have the mental fitness, in fact, to be president, those numbers are incredibly low. The percentage who say he does not have the mental fitness, look at this, 72% say he does not have the mental fitness in order to be president right now. That's up from 65% pre-debate. But compare that to 4 years ago, the percentage of voters who said that Biden was too old. It was just 36%. That's half the level that we're looking at right now. These numbers are not anywhere close to being the same. 4 years ago, voters for the most part thought Joe Biden was with it. He could handle the job as president. You look at those numbers now, the fact is voters do not even see them on the same planet. They don't think Biden's with it. They do not believe he has the mental fitness to be president. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know how he wins with the numbers that we see right now.
Youch. How bad is the polling? A poll done in New Hampshire shows Trump leading, 44-42. Do you realize in December, Biden was up 10 in that exact same poll? Now, I don't have much faith that Trump is going to win New Hampshire. It's gone decidedly left-wing since it was essentially a swing state in the early 2000s. George W. Bush won New Hampshire. It was the last time a Republican won New Hampshire in 2000. But what this does signal is that some of the states that were considered out of reach for Trump, Minnesota, Virginia, I think chief among them, maybe New Mexico, although New Mexico has gone decidedly farther to the left. The map is expanding for Trump, and we're also seeing polling in the must-win states for Biden that is kind of moving out of his, and the underlying questions that Enton is sort of focused on here: age, mental acuity. Do you have the requisite physical and mental ability to perform the job of president? Those questions are all at levels previously unseen, even for Biden, the oldest president and oldest presidential candidate in American history. And it's disingenuous to say, well, this is about age. It's about age. It's not. Trump's only, 4 years younger than Biden? He seems just fine. Why is it that despite Democrats' best efforts to say, well, Trump is senile too, there's nobody that believes this? Coming up next, we will talk with one of President Trump's attorneys, Jay Town, brilliant legal mind. He's been on the Dan O'Donnell show before, to break down what the United States Supreme Court's immunity ruling actually says and answer the question, is Biden really going to be the Democrat nominee? They're really doing this, huh? Really? Jay Town coming up next.
They used water to restore your wood? No wonder you need us. Well, don't worry. This time we'll do it right. You see, water raises the grain of wood, warps it, and opens splits and glue joints. It's the enemy of finished furniture. And that's why we only remove your finish chemically. It's not the cheap way, but it is the best way. For the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com. If you have a great piece and want to see if it's worth restoring, of course we can send someone out there. And no, we won't charge for the visit. We've been doing that for almost 50 years, along with pickups and deliveries, to get the beautiful piece that we restore back in your home safe and sound. And we'll guarantee your satisfaction to boot. So if you're looking for the finest in furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. We're no job's too small. Serving everywhere. Quality counts.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rule.
This is Michael Lynch from Lynch Truck Center. For the first time ever, Lynch Truck Center is having a massive construction sale on over 400 in-stock trucks, which include Chevrolet, GMC, Hino, and Isuzu. You will not want to miss it. We're adding parking, 7 more truck bays, and expanded parts storage so we can better serve you, our customer. Did you know our experienced sales staff sold more Chevrolet medium-duty trucks and cab overs than all the other dealers in the state combined? With their knowledge on upfits, combined with our service department, we deliver turnkey vehicles for your business, including the right body for your application, bin packages, and even lettered when it's delivered right to your door. As a business owner, has managing your fleet grown into a full-time job? Our fleet department can help. We provide a free fleet analysis which guides you when to trade, help track expenses for maintenance, fuel, and even vehicle tracking. You'll be shocked on the money and time you can save, not to mention having new vehicles under warranty. Visit lynchtruckcenter.com and give us a shot. We won't disappoint you.
Dan O'Donnell here. It's This Week with Annex Wealth Management. I'm joined by the president of Annex, Dave Spano, and presidential politics again in the spotlight this Independence Day week, Dave, because the dynamics of the race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden after the first presidential debate seem to have fundamentally shifted dramatically in Trump's favor.
There's no doubt about that. In the last 100 years, Dan, the presidential election years generally are up on average 7.5%. And through the midpoint of this year, we're up 15%. But this is not a typical cycle. You think about the economy is good, unemployment is relatively on track, and earnings in the S&P 500 are headed positive. But this is atypical. First of all, we don't even know who the candidates are for sure at this point. And so you look at, could we have a market correction over the next 90 days? Will there be some news that we don't know? And that's the reason why, folks, as you think about this, you have to think about what is in your portfolio. Will there be a Trump portfolio, for example, that starts to do better? And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see, for example, global warming stocks, EV stocks, so on and so forth. Those are not doing well. But deregulation stocks, especially after the most recent Chevron case, deregulation stocks are doing better. Tariff stocks, things that are coming from Mexico and China, not doing doing well. Let's watch what happens over the next number of days. Make sure that you don't invest your politics, but they're set up to take advantage of all the news that we're going to see over the next 90 days.
And I can guarantee you it's going to be a ton of news. That's why you need to head to annexwealth.com, get a review of your portfolio. For Dave Spano, president of Annex, I'm Dan O'Donnell. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
It's Mike from Milwaukee Lawn Sprinkler. I'm proud to mark 50 incredible years in the irrigation business. Join my son Paul and I this Saturday on the Remodeling Show as we talk irrigation. Enjoy summer. We'll do the watering. Visit MilwaukeeLawnSprinkler.com.
Tom Nichols with Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols.
In business partnerships, attitudes and outlooks can change. And before long, you can find yourself in a situation in which your partnership is no longer working. Dissolving it is difficult and involves a number of legal considerations, such as corporate, tax, labor, accounting, and sometimes even defamation law. Our firm's Adam Tutai is an excellent choice to handle situations like this. Not only is he extremely well-versed in these areas, he also has a unique capacity to constructively deal with a wide variety of personalities. High integrity and earned respect have been hallmarks of our firm for quite some time. We've been representing businesses here in Wisconsin for over 170 years. If your business partnership is no longer working, consider our help and an attorney who in my 40 years is one of the brightest I've known.
Good clients deserve good lawyers. Meisner, Tierney, Fisher & Nichols. MTFN.com.
The housing market stays hot and prices stay high, with low inventory continuing to be the main culprit. Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty, and that's great news for sellers. High interest rates don't seem to be slowing down the buyers, but high real estate commissions are a real stick in the eye to sellers. Interview a 3.99% Redefined Realty agent before signing a contract for 5 or even 6%. Commissions are negotiable, but you have to know where to start. Visit redefinedrealty.com for your free market analysis.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now crossed the 24-hour mark of liberals being utterly convinced that the President of the United States can now just sort of randomly and indiscriminately use SEAL Team 6 to assassinate everyone he wants. Attorney, and I use that term loosely, Bradley P. Moss, says the president can now nuke entire cities. Could you imagine if Trump wins Wisconsin by nuking Milwaukee? No, it is. He called it a horrible city, and now he's going to drop a nuclear bomb. He is going to Hiroshima the whole thing. Thank you, Attorney Moss. An actual attorney joins us now, former U.S. Attorney Jay Town. Jay, as a lawyer, you have got to be enjoying the bad legal takes of the past 24 hours.
Well, as a lawyer, I'm embarrassed that Bradley Moss contends that he is one. So that's A. But, watching look, all of the reaction that immediately came out after the opinion was released and read at the Supreme Court. These broad strokes of this is a threat to democracy, and it was very canned. They had it ready. None of them read the opinion. No. Right? AOC wants to impeach. She didn't say which justice, right? Because 6 of them voted for it. I guess all 6. AOC did. She still hasn't read the opinion. Right, and I'm very curious what color crayon she's going to use when she drafts those articles of impeachment. I contend it will be green, Dan. But look, all kidding aside, the way the opinion process works at Supreme Court is they vote, The opinion is written by the majority. It's then given to the dissent. They write their dissent. The majority gets it so they can actually sort of counter anything the dissent might be saying. And it's very important to know that Chief Justice Roberts, in the majority opinion, really struck down anything that Justice Sotomayor or Justice Jackson had to say. Meaning, so for instance, they analyzed the case in paradigms of their own concoction, and the dissenters exude an impressive infallibility, meaning, hey, they're never wrong. Right? Your confidence is inspiring, but we're actually just going to stick to the law here. And so I think that the law before yesterday was that the president had immunity for official acts. The law this morning is that the president has immunity for official acts. The only real difference, the only significant difference, and I would, I guess, suggest that there are three, is that one, if you want to prosecute the president for what might be an official act or is in that outer perimeter, you, government, have to prove by clear and convincing evidence that immunity shouldn't attach. That's new. Two, anything that the president has that is subject to immunity, so any official actions, none of that is admissible in a court, which is why you're seeing the Manhattan DA. All those tweets from the official Trump account that came in to talking about Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels and whatever else, that was all evidence. When you admit inadmissible evidence in a court, it's an automatic reversible error. Think of it this way. If you get you have a search, you get a bunch of evidence, and then later it's found that that was an illegal search and seizure, but that evidence of that search and seizure came in, right? That's reversible error. It's the same thing because it runs afoul of the Constitution. So there is sort of a new exclusionary constitutional category here. And then third, all immunity issues have to be handled pre-trial. So the government had argued, Jack Smith had argued that, well, we can just put this in the jury instructions, give them the difference between what's in an official and a private act. We'll leave it up to the jury to decide. Supreme Court said, nope. This is going to be done by a judge. Nobody's going to suffer the indignities of a trial when they're immune from it. And so this was a complete slam of the J6 federal case. And really, all four of the cases, it does touch a little bit, but mostly the Jack Smith federal case in D.C.
Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, just said that he would be open to moving President Trump's sentencing date, which is currently scheduled for a week from Thursday, July 11th, while these issues are settled. Do you think that's a tacit admission that he believes this conviction is going to be reversed on appeal, whether it's based upon the Supreme Court's ruling right now or just, frankly, the ridiculous nature of the prosecution itself? Because I thought that was big news that just came out that's sort of flying under the radar right now.
Yeah, I've stopped guessing what goes through Alvin Bragg's mind, and I am also assuming facts, not in evidence there, right? So, but he's definitely.
Hold on. Can we just pause? Can we just pause to appreciate the quality of that lawyer joke? Jay, well played. That is a well played joke, sir.
There's no fat on that joke, but. See, I mean, I don't even have to say the rest, and everybody gets the rest of the Alvin Bragg reference there. That's a pun. There's no fat on that joke. I think that he's doing the responsible thing, and they need to suss through what evidence. I mean, this was a couple of weeks worth of trial transcripts, so you have a 6-week long trial, but the breakneck pace of Judge Merchan, right? He took like 30 days off in a 45-day period. But I would say that that's the right thing to do, and they did admit evidence that is clearly, and I'll just read this for you, in the opinion yesterday, excuse me, any speech by Trump, any tweet by Trump, any conversations with Pence or interactions with DOJ or interactions with state officials, any request for an investigation, anything listed in Article 2, all of those things, and that could be the Amiones Clause, by the way, all of those things are absolute immunity. And so they admitted evidence, and it is inadmissible evidence to submit to a jury any evidence about which Trump has immunity. They did. Now, they didn't know that at the time. There's 30 other reversible errors in this case, right? Due process was violated daily in the Alvin Bragg case by either Mershon or Bragg or both. But this issue definitely changes things. And so, I don't know what's better for Trump, when to be sentenced next week heading into the convention. But why stomp on all this Biden news, right? I mean, maybe push that out a little bit.
I don't think the Biden news is going away. However, apparently Jake Tapper is reporting right now that Democratic governors held a conference call yesterday afternoon. Just governors, no staffs, no one from the campaign or the White House. This was organized by Minnesota's Tim Walz for the Democratic Governors Association. And governors, according to Tapper, expressed concern about what's going on with the president, but they know if they come forward publicly with said concern, that likely will cause Biden to dig in more. People behind the scenes, Jay, I think are rather panicked, and I think they understand that there's really no way to undo the damage that was done in that debate.
Well, what we saw Thursday night, Dan, was a Whitman sampler of what Rob Hur must have heard and seen and experienced in his 5+ hour interview of the President of the United States. I would encourage everybody to go to the transcript. Yeah. That's all we have, and it's no wonder why DOJ won't release the actual audio. But in the transcript, if you search for the word indiscernible, you will find that word 62 times. Now remember, this was a recording that was then, a court reporter then transcribed that recording. Well, on 62 different occasions, a professional court reporter couldn't understand what Biden was saying, so much so that they had to bracket the word indiscernible 62 times. Pretty incredible. And there was 2 occasions where he was looking at the same picture and he couldn't form the words fax machine. He had to ask his lawyer twice what that was in the photo, about 10 minutes apart in the transcript, not to mention his, not knowing what year he was the vice president, all those things that Hur mentioned in his report. Rob Hur is a professional, good man. I've known Rob for years, and he very politely declined this prosecution, even though the likes of Adam Schiff and others said how political he was and he was desperately trying to get Trump reelected. Not it at all. And what we saw on display Thursday night just underscores how polite Rob actually described it. Rob probably undersold what he saw in those 5 hours worth of interviews.
Yeah, where does he go to get his apology? Attorney and former U.S. Attorney Jay Town joining me here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Jay, thank you so much, as always, for being so generous with your time. We really do appreciate it.
Let's talk again. Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. I'm sure we will be. Hopefully we'll see you next, or 2 weeks. 2 weeks from right now at the Republican National Convention. The next talking point for the Democrats. Next talking point. It's already starting. It's okay. Biden isn't really the president anyway. We'll get to that coming up here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Stay tuned.
The Dan O'Donnell Show is coming right back.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for my great friends at Mander Collision and Glass. Now with 6 locations to serve you, you hear me talk about how great Mander is, their work ethic, their customer service. Here's customer Hank. Took my Corvette in for a new windshield with camera in the glass. Their tech knew everything and did a great job. Everyone there was friendly and helpful. I loved the modern and very neat waiting area. Thank you, guys. Finally, even the bathroom was very clean. This is a very professional, family-run business. When I need any more work done, I'm coming here. Peter, you're the best. He even brought this old man an armchair so I could sit and work on my laptop. The receptionist was very quick to say hello and knew everything about my job. Thank you. No, thank you, Hank, for reminding me and everyone about the Mander difference. Start your repair today at mandercollision.com. That's mandercollision.com.
Have you heard the buzz? I'm not talking about the latest tabloid gossip. I'm referring to the buzz from the wires that feed your home's electrical power. That's the most important buzz of all. But when you don't hear the buzz, you're left powerless. Talk about a buzzkill. But I have some good buzz to share. Mr. Howland's Home Services can install a brand new, whole house backup generator directly into your electrical system. So if Mother Nature goes on a rampage, or if the grid has gridlock, you can still keep the lights lit, the fridge is fridging, Wi-Fiing, and your busy day buzzing. All because you listen to the good buzz about Mr. Howland's whole house generators. Don't wait until the buzz dies down. Keep the lights on and give Mr. Howland's Home Services a buzz today. Call 866-992-1717 or buzz on over to MrHowlandsHomeservices.com. If you want to stay buzzed, we can help.
How long have you been living with that joint pain? You're calling it an old sports injury or just old age, but you just don't have to live with it. Jay Weber here saying it took me too long to figure that out. If you're someone who's experiencing spine or musculoskeletal pain or shoulder, hip, or knee pain, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. They're the doctors and techs that I trust with my shoulder problems. I've had issues for years, and there's not enough damage to warrant surgery, so Ortho Wisconsin helps me manage the pain. Their clinicians, physicians, and surgeons are committed to providing the highest quality joint care and handle everything from simple strains and tears to sports injuries to managing degenerative diseases to complex joint replacements. In fact, Orthopedic Associates specializes in same-day total joint replacements at their ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee, and lesser treatments like physical therapy can be done at the Pewaukee, Brookfield, and New Berlin locations. Based on my experiences, you will be impressed with Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin and their staff. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it will be worth less than $700,000. That's the effect of out-of-control government spending shrinking your hard-earned dollars, and it's why central banks and savvy investors are buying gold. For thousands of years, gold has withstood war, famine, and economic downturns. It's been a stalwart hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. And the company I, Buck Sexton, trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. For 2 decades, Birch Gold has helped concerned Americans convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, you can trust Birch Gold, too.
To learn more, text the word PROTECT to 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Again, text PROTECT to the number 989898 to protect your hard-earned savings today.
Hey, it's Dan. CertaPro Painters knows how important your home is to you, and that's why they are so focused on helping you bring a fresh new color to it. You can trust CertaPro Painters to get the job done right every time, and even in those hard-to-reach places. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate online at CertaWithACPro.com. When choosing a painting professional, the choice is simple. Choose happy. Choose CertaPro Painters.
Are you ready to start a meaningful career in healthcare? Are you looking for a job that fits your work-life balance? Become a certified direct care professional today and make life better for older adults or people with a disability. WIS Caregiver Careers makes it easy with free online training plus earn a $500 bonus. See your name on Wisconsin's Certified Direct Care Registry. Sign up today at wiscaregivercdcp.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Now, back to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
1, 2, 3,
New media narrative incoming. It's okay that Biden is half a vegetable. He's not really the president anyway. Jay Johnson is President Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, and ever since he left his position, he has been a fixture on cable news. He said, look, it's fine. The president isn't really the president. It's really a cabal of Democrats, some you've heard of, some you haven't, who are running the country.
A presidency is more than just one man, one woman. It's an administration. I would take Joe Biden on his worst day at age 86. So long as he has people around him like like Avril Haines, Samantha Power, Gina Raimondo supporting him over Donald Trump any day with the crowd that was behind him on January 6, 2021.
That is a stunning admission that President Biden is really sharing the duties of the presidency. And this is what I've just sort of always assumed, that the reason that Biden was sort of the consensus choice is that there are a whole lot of people who want that power. It's not just First Lady Macbeth, Jill Biden. It's everyone. It's KJP. It's Ron Klain. President Biden, by far his closest advisor. Gina Raimondo, apparently. Samantha Power has a tremendous amount of, no pun intended, power within this administration. That all of these cabinet secretaries essentially are running their own little fiefdoms, and whoever it is that are Biden's closest aides are the ones who are actually performing the duties of the presidency. That it really is weekend at Biden's every single weekend he goes to Delaware. Whether he's in the White House, where he's apparently cogent only 6 hours out of every 24 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This, by the way, the coincidence has not been lost on me that President Biden was scheduled to speak at 10:45. He's probably going to speak in about 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Typically, President Biden has been about, if it's not a nationally televised address or something like that, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes late on average. The worst, the absolute worst was Obama. Obama, he would say he was going to speak at 11 o'clock and it would be like 1:15 and still no Obama. Nonetheless, Trump was not the most punctual fellow in the world either. Bush 43 was to the minute. That was like he was on. In any event, I believe that what you're going to see is, okay, I think the reality is setting in for Democrats. I really do. And this is why that they're stuck with Joe. Yeah, Dave, that they're stuck with Joe because it's too late in the game. This is why also I think Team Biden was so desperate to avoid any actual primary challenge. Remember, as I reported yesterday, I was reminded in researching yesterday's show that Dean Phillips wasn't the guy who intended to primary Biden. Everybody sort of laughed, who the hell is Dean Phillips? Dean Phillips was the guy who was organizing the effort because he saw it. He clearly understood it. And apparently so too do Democrat governors. Jake Tapper, who moderated the debate fiasco last week, is reporting that Democrat governors, including Wisconsin's own Tony Evers, you wonder, is there going to be a single reporter in Wisconsin who asks Governor Evers, who asks Senator Baldwin, who asks any of the Democrats running for Congress, Mark Pocan, Gwen Moore, do you believe Biden has the physical and mental acuity required to serve as president of the United States? Will any of them get that question? Because it's Tuesday, the debate was Thursday. Have any of them weighed in? Has Tammy Baldwin emerged from her groundhog hole? I mean, it's not February 2nd, but every so often she is campaigning. She does have to resurface. Is there going to be a single reporter asking any questions about whether they still have the full faith in Biden that they did, or at least that they professed to? Because we now know Governor Evers was on a call in which, every other governor except him said Biden is done, he's toast. You had Gretchen Whitmer actually come out and say to one of Biden's top aides, he just lost Michigan. There's no way he's going to win Michigan. Now, I would guess that Whitmer has no earthly idea whether or not Biden can win Michigan. Remember, behind the scenes, she's proposing herself as the best alternative to Biden. But does Governor Evers agree with these concerns? Does he believe, and I think there are shocking parallels between Governor Evers and Joe Biden. It's remarkable how little we see from him and how his office seems to be governed by a cabal of 30 and 40-something women headed up by Queen Bee and Wisconsin's real Governor Maggie Gao. But it is amazing how nobody is asked about this. Don't you think some enterprising reporter would find out where Evers is going, stick a mic in his face? Stay tuned, because I'm guessing that might not happen. 4th of July edition of the show on the 3rd tomorrow, and the Dan O'Donnell Show resumes.